Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Cleveland here, Oklahoma Correction Professionals Executive Director, and today we have our in-house guru, I guess you could call him, Justin Humphrey, who has a little bit of knowledge on everything. He's just, and if he doesn't know it, he'll say it anyway. And then I have Jason Leamons, who was retired from DOC after 20 years, on here as a guest with us today. And so, Jason, what?
My other job, but I still get calls all the time. And wow, all I can say is it's crazy the way they've gotten rid of these officers and dropping these pins and just the stuff going on. It blows my mind. Things that are happening we would have been fired for, and you know, time and time again. But there's just no experience now. Everybody's leaving when they can, so you don't have officers that are there. They might be there in their first 5 years or their last five. Everybody's leaving when they can, and they have no experience.
Yeah, we're the number one in the country, number one in the country with understaffed in the whole United States. We're number one, and I guess we're going to be number one in the number of deaths we've had inside of our prison too, because we're cooking
Well,
that up.
Bob, you got to reach for something. You need to be number one at all you can do. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I just got a report that we're even as low as they are. I just got a report from at one of the smaller prisons. They're trying to get it to where they run. They're first of all they're trying to do away with posts, I guess, and just have positions. And they're trying to run Veneta with four officers. They're trying to switch that over. They're trying to have just a control, an SHU, a shift supervisor, and one officer. They had a hanging. Did you all? A couple of weeks ago, they had a hanging there. There was a killing out at the farm. A guy committed suicide. Hanging. They had a guy get his ear bit off last week. All the officers said it's so out of control right now.
Where's that at, Jason?
Huh?
What prison is that at?
Ada.
Wow. Again, that's what we're hearing now is that all these facilities that weren't an issue are now becoming an issue. These smaller prisons. I just got some stuff from another institution that's going on, but it's just insane. And like I say, a lot of this, I don't know if y'all were paying attention that the AG and the governor, man, they're at war. It sounds like over the mental health treatment. That they're on this big mental health treatment, and the AG wants to settle a case. The governor doesn't want to settle. But one of the biggest issues are they're not providing treatment, and a lot of the people that aren't getting treatment in the community are ending up in these facilities. And if they weren't bad enough to be mental health, by the time you get raped, by the time you have all of these issues going on, then guess what? You're going to if you didn't have mental health by when you got there, you probably will by the time you arrive. Been there a minute or two. And so again, that's what they're talking about is all of these people are going into the prisons. We're shorthanded, don't have the capacity to deal with them. And look what's happening across the Department of Corrections.
Let me read you something that kind of fills into what we got here. This is from a mother of a son. He said he is incarcerated at Allen Gamble Correctional. My son has severe mental health issue. He has been in and out of treatment since he is very young. I promise it's not for attention. He has attempted suicide. The guard at Allen Gamble sprayed him with pepper spray and put him in medical for 3 days. got put back in his cell. They have not returned his TV, shoes, clothes, sheets, or towels, all things I have to buy. He has put several staff requests. He has put in for several staff requests, along with the grievance forms, in vain. I've tried to reach him via phone without luck, with no luck. I have 2 full-time jobs and just had to buy this stuff because every time he moved, stuff comes up missing. He also, the last 5 years, I purchased summer clothing box and food box. So this year I did the same, and later learned he can't order from Amazon no longer for some sort of things that were refunded, but still I was out $145 of Amazon clothing and sheets, towels, etc. sets on the prison and was not returned, so that the money is gone. Last year, my son was put on a commissary restriction. Now he weighs 165 pounds. He came to Allen Gamble weighing 220. He's 6'4". They don't understand he is scared to eat the food because the inmates bring the food to the window. I didn't know that we had inmates taking food.
Well, you know what? I don't want to go to prison, but I might need to go in there for 2 weeks, lose me about 20 or 30 pounds, you know. That'd be a good weight loss program.
They don't understand he is scared to eat food because the inmates bring it to the window. I'm lost on that one. I just know he's locked down 24 hours a day and he has to have a TV. Sorry.
See, that's a violation of policy because that officer's supposed to check that food before he ever gets it.
Well, and that's what I was fixing to say, Jason. When they let the inmates take the food, whether they put something in the food or not, they extort the other people. If you want your food, you're going to have to give me this or that, or they spit in it, piss in it, do whatever to it. Having inmates deliver food to other inmates is always a piss poor ideal, and it's not policy.
Well, and the reason that that's happening is because, like, let's say he's in that SHU area, you know, where they have that safe cell or wherever.
Right.
Got 43, like at Dick Connors, because they were doing it there. I had to get on to my officers, but you've got 43 trays he's trying to go through and deliver, along with doing showers and recreation. Well, by policy, you're supposed to have, you know, on a 40-man, you're supposed to have 3 down there. You got 1 guy working all that. So what's he do? He has them, he's having his orderlies.
Yeah, the orderlies do it, yes.
Helping him do that, which I know it's not right, but he's, you know, you don't, it's lack of having the officers to do the job correctly.
Well, the bottom line, they're short-handed. That's the bottom line.
It's just poor management overall in general. We got it all over the place. It's just poor management. Didn't have this before he got there. Before Harp was there, wasn't nothing like this.
Well, Jason, let me ask you a question. I wrote the director either yesterday or the day before. I actually wrote him a little bit quicker and we forgot to send it, so we're a little bit delayed. But, you know, the report come out that there was an inmate that had a mental health. So we're talking about mental health here. An inmate that had mental health. They took him out to a recreational cell so that everybody understands what a recreational cell is that when you're on lockdown like this, they're supposed to allow you to have so much exercise. They take you out to a cell. They've got a cell out there that they're supposed to leave you about an hour per policy, I think, and then they take you back inside. This mental health person's allowed to go out there, said, nope, I'm not coming back in. I'm not going to do it. And they left him out there. My understanding called up to the exec office. The exec office called him and said, leave him out there, and left him out there 4 days. 4 days. So, again, no bathroom, no bedding, no bed. Have you heard all that? Is that?
As a matter of fact, I've had 3 different officers and staff, 2 officers and a staff call me about this exact situation. So it was about 2 weeks ago, like you're saying, they took him out there. And he did. The warden out there, Randy, he called and he asked for higher ups because they left him out there. He refused. So by policy, they should have got a 5-man team together right then. Right. You know, they gave him a command, which those cages are open so you could see. A big show of force usually 90% of the time, the inmate will comply. So he should have got him. They should have, if they had to spray him, if he wasn't listening, spray him, go decontaminate him, then go put him in a safe cell where they can get him the proper attention, logged with medical treatment. Now that by policy is, at least that's how it was that's how that should have went down. They let this because all the officers that are left, they're so pissed because they're not doing anything by policy. They leave him out there for 4 days. They said he shit. One officer told me he went on days off. When he came back, he was still in there. He was going to the bathroom in there and eating. When he would, at first he was refusing trays, but then he started eating. But he was going, so there was all kinds of feces, urine, everything out there. Yeah, they called me upset about it. And then 4 days later, 4 days, and I know the warden said, well, let me call the city to see what appropriate action we need to take. Because that's an SIR, and that has to be reported within 30 minutes by policy. So after the 4 days, they get a 5-man team together. They go, they spray the guy, and then they took him to for observation after that. But they let him sit in feces, in urine, and out in that cell, which is outside. It's not air conditioned. So he was out, and it's been, 100 plus every day for the last.
Well, and here's the deal. Does he have a bed out there? Does he have bedding out there? Does he have something like when he is eating, does he have utensils, those kind of things? And you're sitting there eating where you're crapping, and again, you're sleeping where you're crapping. Now, does a mental health person have enough sense to go over and designate one corner to that? Probably not. The guy's mental health, you can't treat him like he knows what he's mental health. And so you got to say, and like you said, anybody that's dealt with this, generally when you march 4 or 5 guys out there and they know what's gonna, even if they're kind of not stable mentally, that don't mean they're plumb lost they generally know, okay, all right, I'm gonna come. Most of the time they'll come with that show of force, but even if they don't, you go in, you extract them. It's common, it's called a cell extraction. You do them all the time. You know what I'm saying?
You used to do them all the time, but I don't know. They don't do anything that is proper protocol that they used to do. And that's why a lot of the reasons they have these problems, a lot of your supervisors, a lot of your staff, that's a problem. They don't even know what they're supposed to be doing because they went through so much staff. They have no experience. There's when I was there, and it was actually one of the final straws, but they promoted a guy, and maybe he's competent. I don't know. I don't really know the guy, but I know that he was a lieutenant for a short amount of time. He went to deputy warden. I know for a fact he was deputy warden less than 6 and 7 months. They have already promoted him to warden. You have to go through those experiences to know how to handle them. You have to know when to use that safe cell, when to open up a logbook because you have a PREA. And that you have to document 15 minutes or a murder. You have to tape it off. You have to call out. There's so many steps. And that's why you have a rank structure and go through that. You have to learn those processes, at the chief level. You learn how to write SIRs and do all the blurbs and learn how to do all that. The captains get to do it a little bit, but these people are skipping these processes.
Well, Jason,
it should have been easy and handled within 30 minutes.
Right.
This guy should be distracted, taken over. If you got to spray him a little bit, you decontaminate him, you get medical, you make sure, and then you can start figuring out what the issues are.
But Jason, I understand that they called the headquarters and that they told them leave him out there.
Well, I don't know for a fact if they told him to leave him out there, but I know that they called, and I know he wasn't moved for 4 days. I know that for a fact. And I know a lot of them were upset because they're like.
Well, but here, going back to what you were saying, we had some incidents happen at Hinton, and we kind of got involved in the process of them demoting people or trying to fire people and whatever. And something come up in one of these conversations about being lieutenant and how long have you been lieutenant? How long was you there? And I forget whether it's 4 years or something, 4 or 5 years. And I was blown back by that, because when I was there, you weren't making lieutenant in 5 years. You know, that was an 8 to 10 year.
Yeah.
You know, chief and all that was probably more 10. And again, I mean, if you made chief in 10 years, I think you got 10 years, you probably got experience, you know, but you just didn't see that. So I started asking all these people, and it's unbelievable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they're running off, and it seems like they're doing it on purpose. They don't want experience. They don't want people who can tell you this is how you're supposed to do it. They run them off.
Well, he doesn't. Hart does not wanting. 90% of your issues should be handled at the facility level. If these wardens had, a drug dog, they've taken the drug dogs away from everywhere. They've got skeleton bone CERT teams. They don't have any investigators. You could do 90% of the investigations and handle 90% of your issues at facility level, like a warden should be a warden. But not wardens anymore. They don't get to make decisions on anything. They have to call the higher ups, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He has no clue how to run a.
Here's the deal. Bottom line, hey, I mean, if you want to talk about requirements, I mean, they've done away with all the requirements for all these positions. But if you want to talk about the least qualified person in the Department of Corrections, I would say it's the director. That director is the least qualified individual to do his job.
You do not even have to be a deputy warden now. You do not even have to have supervisor experience. I had 2 higher ups call and tell me that. So you do not have to have supervisor to be a deputy warden of a prison.
Hey, Jason. So what you're saying is to be the deputy warden requires the same experience as to be the director. That's none, right? Is that what you're telling me?
No experience.
You
nailed that one, JJ.
I want to talk about that just happened, and this was at Connors also. So you guys have been talking, and we were talking about how they have no tower. And for people that are listening that doesn't know, in a medium and above, your tower controls your movement on your yard because they're up above and they see everything. So when you have a high, medium, or a max, your tower makes sure that all your units, you only let one out at a time and everything stays secure. So not only with seeing your perimeter, make sure people aren't jumping fences, your tower is also responsible for the movement of that yard. So when you don't have a tower and you don't have a surveillance and you don't have all these positions, a perimeter, when you don't have all these positions that contribute to the movement of your yard, and I know it wasn't reported, but they about had a riot over there at Connors a couple of weeks ago, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, but they had a new officer working a unit and they called one unit out to eat. Well, so basically they should have 3 or 4 yards that are controlling all that kitchen movement and stuff, making sure it's safe at lunch, but you should have at least 3 to 4 yards on that medium yard to control the movement, especially during chow. So they have none. Your lieutenant is actually running the yard along with the shift supervisor because they're only running each day with 11 to 12 officers total. That's it. So they don't have a tower, and the lieutenant calls for chow. And I think he called K&N. Well, there was a younger, just got out of academy, new officer. He starts letting the guy out of A&C. So the guy from K&N's letting his out, the guy from A&C. Anyways, it about starts this big riot at the prison because you have 2 units, and on those mediums, you'll have the different gangs separated because if they get at each other, they're all going to kill each other.
Sure.
So the deputy warden and a bunch of them run in. The deputy warden gets punched in the face. Okay. Which, back in the day, if an officer got punched, but a deputy warden, not that he's any better than the officers because he's not. But my point is, they don't even.
Jason, if they're emboldened enough to punch the deputy warden in the face, this is what I keep telling people. When they go to filming themselves and they're showing their face and they're filming an 8-minute, 10-minute clip and putting it out on YouTube or whatever, live streaming it, doing whatever, hey, you've lost control. When they will punch a deputy warden in the face, you have lost control of your facility. That's just
And the fact is, he won't even lock the inmates down to get control of the prison. Even that, like you said, half the inmates are scared that they won't lock down to stay. But I mean, that's all he does is empower these inmates and, depowers the staff when it comes to issues like that. He gets, but nobody hears about it. And it's happened so much, and issues like this, it's common day. So it's not a big deal to all of them anymore. I don't, it blows my
Jason,
mind.
I wrote a letter, like I said, I wrote a letter probably on Monday, Tuesday, and Latoya forgot to send it, and I think she sent it Wednesday or Thursday. So we've sent the letter, and the letter asked him about the guy that got locked in. We named the inmate. We got enough information. I was able to name the inmate, said, hey, this happened. We want to know. We want you to confirm that you did this. We were told executive level was contact. Did you approve this action? We also talked about the incident where you're saying that due to the tower and due to these other contributing factors that you let, you almost accidentally had a near riot because you're letting about 50 on one side, 50 on the other side in together, these opposite gangs, which we know, anybody who knows prison, we may need to explain that to our director, but anybody who's worked this knows what we're talking about. But the thing about it is, and then your deputy warden, and I named him, hey, it's Deputy Warden Graham was the one I understood got punched in the face. And again, he's down there trying to take care of business, so kudos to him, But at the end of the day, what did you do to that inmate? Because if you don't do anything, if you allow that guy to punch him in the face and you do nothing, you are sending a huge message to every inmate in that prison that you can do anything you want. If you can walk up and punch the deputy warden in the face with no repercussions or little repercussions, like I say, you've lost all control. And that's what it appears right now is going on.
And if they would have had even, like I said, 11 or 12, you're nowhere close to running that prison. You need like about 22 officers minimum to run it halfway decent. But if you would have had your yards like you're supposed to, at least with the tower, that whole incident would have been prevented.
Sure. Everything that we're talking about, whether we're talking about cell extractions, whether we're talking about near misses of rights, how all these are being handled, they're all boiling down to one thing: shortage of staff. This whole thing, and again, what we're talking about, we don't see the shortage of staff. How long, Bob, have we been hollering? I mean, 4 years probably we went to war with DOC over shortage of staff. And, we had issues with Crow, but Crow come along and said, yes, we are short, and come up with a plan to try to get more people. Under this guy, I've not seen any efforts, anything. Everything he's done has just been totally ridiculous.
At Bonita, they were telling me, Jason, we're shorter than when you left. And if he takes it to 4 officers, and that's what he'll do. He'll take it and say, okay, they can run. Okay, they got 4 officers, so they got plenty of staff. He just keeps cutting the numbers to say they're adequate on the staffing. It's ridiculous. I'm telling you, I don't know what they.
Well, you're putting the officers in a very, very dangerous situation. Would you not say?
Huh?
Would you not? You're putting the officers in a very dangerous situation.
We're past that. We were in a dangerous situation when you guys were talking about it before I even came on and started.
Well, and not just the officers. You're putting every employee in danger. You're putting the inmates in danger. And the inmates, I mean, you know what? This is a program for employees. This is OCP is about the employees. And we're here. But when you see, these inmates being extorted, Bob, Jason, I don't know if y'all read in the paper the other day, come out with the extortion, a whole report on extortion. And I had a person call me and go, man, you need to read this. I was like, I don't need to read it. I gave them everybody. I'm the one who got it all together for them. and gave them the people that are being extorted. I know exactly who they're talking about. And we presented these cases. Guess what? The extortion, I got calls this morning too on inmates being extorted. And it's not the inmates, it's the family. It's the family of the inmates that are being extorted. And the inmates are being beaten, raped, and everything else, to extort family.
I've had some of the higher ups call me. I don't even think I've told you this, JJ, but I might have, but I had a few of the higher ups call me saying, Jason, you were in there, they're like, I can't, not the situation these prisons are in, but I can't believe you're out there saying, they don't have a tower. What if people come in, during visitation and whatever, and just drop stuff? They all know, but it's not, they were mad because I've been saying what's actually going on, and they can't call me a liar. And, but it's the fact that I've been, stating what the issues are from the inside, and that, boy, that I turn because I've been letting, everybody know what's going on. And
you joined the ranks of JJ and Bob. You're now down on the, the lower level. You actually tell what's going on and tell the truth and actually that's what, I don't get this about employees. Maybe you can help me. I understand they're worried about their job. I understand that they want to protect their job, but there has to become, I keep thinking all the time, hey, things are going to get so bad that they got to step out of there. They got to step up, and things are going to get so bad, and they're going to get to the position. Hey, if you guys are listening that this where you lock a guy in a cage for 4 days, you need to be writing. You don't need to just verbally say we want to go in. You don't need to just verbally say this ain't right. You need to document. I am no part of this, and it is absolutely stinking wrong, violation of policy. But the bigger violation is a violation of human rights. It is, and you don't need a degree. You don't need, what I'm saying? We wouldn't treat a dog the way that we treat some of these.
JJ, if
I just
logbook out there as chief of security, I'd have opened up the logbook and I would have still done like 15 minutes. That way I'm documenting everything after the fact that I was told to leave him out there. I would have had
absolutely. I'd say as per, and again, I might help the warden saying it's my understanding warden called the executive office. I try to throw him a bone because I figure that warden probably is a decent guy from what I've heard. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think that they want that. But at the end of the day, they're caught in the same trap everybody else. If I was that warden, I'd be documenting. But if I was his chief of security, as per the warden, this is what I'm doing. I believe that the warden tried, I think the warden got executive, contact executive, have to talk to him, But I would clear my hiney, you know what I mean? I was told to do this.
But JJ,
we under protest.
We've talked about how they, before they even did it, the next thing they're going to do is cut pins. They're going to cut pins again. Not only they're going to cut pins, then they're going to quit writing down certain incidents and change the way the incident's done. Maybe not put the people that killed themselves or got killed in the prison, put it in a different situation, or they'll change how much drugs is, make it easier. So you can say, well, we're really getting them now. We got less drugs in prison.
One thing they've really done too, guys, is they've really watered down the misconduct process.
That's just what I'm talking about.
Falls on this, a guy was a couple higher up at their facility, and they were mad because now, so get this. So possession of drugs and a failure 8 are both an A12 now, not even an X. So possession of drugs is not even an X. And the reason, so they were pissed because the only thing you can get an X for is distribution. But now they're saying to write an X, you have to have scales there, baggies there, so much drugs. So all these inmates are saying they can be caught with this dope or whatever, and then they run around saying, just write me the A, write the A up. It's the whole.
Well, and the thing about it is when they understand you got to have baggies, you got to have scales, you got to have this, They're all in, you know what I'm saying? There's not one just holding all this. So you let your neighbor hold some baggies. You let your crew, you know what I'm saying? The crew holds some baggies. The crew holds some scales. One guy gets so much dope. The other guy gets so much dope. And now you still got all the dope. You got all the baggies. You got all the stuff. But it's just now under that kind of rule, you can't charge anybody because they're not idiots, because they got enough sense to spread that around. How stupid, how stupid can you be? I mean, that's the stuff that I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and put dope in there and let's make it legal. Let's go ahead and let them kill each other. I'm not sure Harp ain't got a unique plan. Maybe the whole plan was he's going to reduce the population of prison by letting them all get killed or OD'd or hang themselves or whatever. I mean, hell, I can't figure this guy out. I mean, what I will tell you this, what I can't figure out is why that the governor, I got to know the governor's got to get as many calls as I do. Surely he's got to get the calls. But I guess he's got somebody that takes them calls and ignores everybody. But golly, how in the world can you allow this to go on? Because this is beyond the pale.
Hey, JJ, I heard because, well, for one, you were saying the officers, but they're so scared to death. Because I heard just the other day, I don't know if this is true, but I heard somebody had messaged you about something. They got fired.
Well, here's the deal. In all honesty, I believe that person believes that's why, and I figure they're right. And what's funny is I can guarantee you that there is no way. One, if anybody sends anything to me, there's stuff. Now, Bobby Cleveland probably knows as much as anybody knows. Jason, you probably know us three. We talk quite a bit on corrections. You know what I'm saying? But there are people who send me information that I'm never going to tell. How I found out about that shower deal at Hinton. Guess what? And I had a law firm, and I've had another big law enforcement group asking me about stuff like that. And I said, I'll go to jail before I tell who told me that. I will go to jail rather than tell who told me that. And the Department of Corrections can sit up there and try to process it, and they think they don't know. And just like this gentleman, if he walked in and they fired him because they think that he's telling me something, well, guess what? How I found out that information, I've not even told my own assistant. Don't even know how I find that out. In fact, I will tell you this. I don't even know the person's name of how I found that out. And guess why I don't know their name? I don't want to know their name. I do not want to know their name, so that if I ever get put on and I go, and nobody will go, well, how did you know? I got contacted by an individual. I got sent stuff by an individual. I do not know their name. And I've been involved in a lot of stuff in law enforcement over the years, and that's one of the ways that we protect the confidentiality. Just don't tell me your name, and then you don't have to worry.
But Harp spends so much time trying to figure out how they're going to get rid of me and you, how we can get rid of the OCP, and then doing its job.
Well, Bob, that's kind of like when he shot his floor. You know what I'm saying? I just want to let everybody know he didn't miss. He did hit the floor. He shot his floor, so he's okay shot, you know. So when he did that, everybody ran in there, smoke all over the room, gun smoke all over the room. Oh, nothing happened. I dropped the book. Now, that's what I was told.
Yep.
Now, he wants to act like he went after some individuals, is what I heard on that, because he's like, well, you're the one contacted JJ. Well, I got a little news bulletin, Director. No, everybody contacted JJ. That was the worst kept secret in the world. I mean, within 2 minutes, I couldn't answer quick, and my phone's blowing up. Yeah, I done been told he shot the floor. Yeah, I heard. Hang up. Okay, yeah, I got that. I mean, my phone was blowing up with people. I was told the AG, because guess what, Director? When you shoot your own floor, everybody knows how wrong that is, and everybody was reporting it. Only deal is everybody's scared of you because you flaunt your authority, because you have a position that the governor gave you, not that you earned, that the governor gave you, and you try to hoard it over everybody. And you are maybe, no, you are the worst director I have ever seen in my life.
I'll tell you what, I thought we had some bad directors. There were none of them that were as bad as, we had some good directors, I guess, because you're absolutely right. He is by far, bar none. And half of these people would tell him that if they weren't so scared, that knows no policy, does not know how to handle inmates at all in a correctional facility. He is by far the worst. I don't think you could have picked a worse director.
Here's the deal. Anybody else would have enough sense to go, let me talk to these people. Let me let these guys who know what they're doing run this. He ain't got enough sense to know he don't know nothing.
He puts a pretty bow on top of how bad he is. He's got a pretty bow.
Yeah.
He knows how to talk, I guess, to politicians, and I guess he knows how to, rub elbows. But that's
he knows how to talk to politicians because he's best friend with the governor. And the governor, you let the governor leave and you see what he's got. You let him leave and you let him leave that position. Look, when I get done with being representative, I know I'm not going to be, but being representative is not who I am. You know what I'm saying? And let's take my good friend Bobby over there. Bobby was a representative, but Bobby's main deal when he was representing was to help the Department of Corrections. That was one of his big deals. He had several things he worked on, but that was a big deal. When Bobby left, look where Bobby is. The representative wasn't him. He is somebody that keeps doing what he knows to do, what is right, and helping employees, helping inmates, helping the prisons. And guess what? This guy, when he's gone, it'll just be another notch and he'll go somewhere else to ruin, just like he ruined OMES, just like he's ruining this. And then he'll go to some other federal program. I'm hearing that there, some place where he's managed to make himself bigger than what he is because he knows nothing. They are not looking at his record. They're not looking at his educational. They're not looking at his training, but they're damn sure not looking at what he's done as director, because I guarantee you he's going to post the worst numbers of any director by far, heads and shoulders, run away. The biggest deaths, lowest employees, all the numbers you don't want, he's great at. All the numbers you don't want, he's awesome at.
Well, we're going to be number one in deaths in our prison with inmates' deaths.
That's the thing that gets
well,
me.
If you're not number one, you can be number two.
But if they would come in and somebody that knows correction, that's not biased, would come in and do an internal audit, they would clean house, because it's that obvious. And like, if he ever gets a boss that knows half of corrections, he would be gone within a week. That's the part that blows my mind. We know there's incident after incident after incident after incident for fact. And the guys like Teflon, nothing happens. I don't understand it.
Hey, I got somebody I got to talk to. Just 1 second. I'm gonna step off.
Oh, good. Now we can talk.
So, yeah, Bob, I just don't know, but these guys, they
Well, lost your sound there. Your sound's not coming in. Well, for some reason, Jason, we've lost your sound. I don't know if Jay took it with him.
Yeah. Are you still there?
Yeah, it's come back. Yeah, but we couldn't hear you for a while.
Are you still there, Bob?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Good.
Can you hear me?
Hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Obviously you can't.
Y'all miss me?
Well, we've lost Jason. I can't hear him. You got up
Really?
to the hearing with you.
Well, that may have been it.
Difficulty.
Well, I was telling Bob that I how in the world can I be in Lane, Oklahoma today and receive something from Dick Connors Correctional Center, and they're always wondering, oh, how do you find out? They're always trying to figure out how I'm doing something, and it's quite funny. They ain't gonna figure it out, and I ain't gonna tell them. But again, here we talking about extortion. And we're mentioning Dick Connors quite a bit. And boom, I get something from Dick Connors saying, hey, exactly what they're backing us up, saying we called in there, we reported the extortion, told them who's extorting, nothing done. Called back, reported the extortion, nothing done. We're calling back, and they're saying they leave me. We will continue to call until something gets done. Now that's coming from a parent of one of the inmates in there. And so again, they wonder how we know all this stuff. Well, guess what? There's 21,000 parents, aunts, uncles, friends, neighbors, preachers that are related to these people. I mean, you got a whole, Bob, does your phone blow up as much as mine? This morning, the entire time before I come on here, my phone, I was answering. Boom, boom, boom.
I would get calls at Dick Connors of extortion at least 2 or 3 times a week going on. I knew for a fact, but part of the problem is you can't get all them phones out of there. You don't have, enough staff to do the proper searches. They cut those lines, scramblers. They cut those all the time. They'll climb up on the building. Now they can really climb up on them, not having no tower. So they cut those scrambler lines. They're 10,000, I think, or something like that. Sean Price was telling me every time they had cut one of them lines. But I mean, they've got a free.
And the thing about it is, when you're short-handed like that, you can't do the things you need to do. And OGI. You know what I'm saying? I like some guys from OGI. I think there's good guys over there. So please, if you're at OGI, don't take what I'm saying. But I can tell you this: the thought of how do I tactfully say? Well, how do you say worthless as tits on a boar hog? How do you say that tactfully, Bob? Can you say that tactfully?
Yeah, that's pretty tactfully.
Yeah.
You even took 2 of those OIG guys, and you put them at the facilities. You know how much more helpful that would be for
exactly. And here's the deal. I think most of the OIG guys want to do their job. I think they want to do their job. I think if they were at those facilities, you would cut down 90% of your stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't want to say 90, but you would have a huge impact if you put those guys at the facility, let them work that facility, let them work all of that stuff, you could get done. But again, you're going to have some help. And you can't keep cutting pins. How do you cut pins like Bob was talking about a while ago? How can you be you know what I'm saying? You're worst in the nation. Director, you're worst in the nation on officer to inmate ratio. And what are you doing? You're cutting pins. You're going to come, you know what I'm saying? It's insane.
It's just mismanagement, period.
Period. Well, how could you even, I mean, the thought that they could even do that is beyond the pale. It's beyond the pale. I think we lost him again, Bob. We didn't really, Bob mentioned this a while ago. For doing that, and I think when they start doing that, and we can prove it. A lot of problems under Director Crow, and I thought we could improve a lot. But in full fairness, you know, Director Crow was inherited some, and I like Allball, and I think Allball was going in the right direction. I think Allball was going in. He had some of the right ideals. Didn't carry through with some of his ideals, but I think he was trying to carry through, and he was fighting the board and everything else. I think Director Crow come in, maybe didn't put as much resistance as Allball did on some things, but I do believe that Director Crow cared about the employees. I think
here's the difference, though, JJ. They would work with us. We were working together to make it a better place. He's not. He doesn't want to work with us. He didn't want to see anything. He didn't want to hear from us.
Well, Bob, I can tell you this: when Director Crow found out that we would call him and say, "Hey, this guy got wrote up," he'd go, "Well, let us check on it." Now, every once in a while, we'd have an argument. We had that one down there at McAllister where the girl got sexually assaulted that we couldn't agree on. Every once in a while, we'd have. But Bob, you correct me if I'm wrong. Most of the time, he would call up there and say, "Hey, fix this problem," or "Hey, we're not going to let this happen," or "Let's have a reasonable agreement what we'll do." And he would work with us. Man, we were not having to go every case to court on it. I mean, he had reduced that. Am I wrong, Bob? Y'all weren't going to court half as much.
No, we could settle it. We could get it settled pretty easy, pretty quick.
Right. And he cared about the employees. Now, we had a big argument how many they were down. I think he was trying to cover that up a little bit. But at the end of the day, I mean, they come forward with that. They worked with us on bills. You know, I mean, I mean, there would be some things I could bring up that were negative at that. But at the end of the day, we were working together, and I think it was, you know, but if you could have told me that it could get a whole lot worse, you know, I would have said, "Oh, I just don't think it could get much worse." And to see what we are today, you know, and in May, if you would have told me when we were getting out of session, if you'd said it can get worse, I'd said, I don't know how, but guess what? It can.
Well, we
I guess he'd be willing to just have one officer down there. You know, if you're willing to have four, why even have four? Let's just do away with all of them. Let the inmates run the show, because that's what they're doing anyway.
They've turned it over to the inmates.
Well, they've done that, I think.
At
certain prisons, I can almost guarantee you they've turned it over to the inmates. Allen Gamble, I would say they've turned it over to the inmates.
Well, there's not enough staff to control it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line. When you lose that much staff, that they're going to take over, because that's just the way it's going to work.
They can't even do a proper shakedown. You should have two. You should cuff that inmate and then go through the stuff, set him out there where you can watch him, strip him out. So how's an officer going to go in there, you know, when he's got 120 inmates and that whole unit's full of knives, and he's going to go search by himself? That isn't going to happen.
No. Well, most of the things, if you're an officer, you're just going to say, hey, they're not going to do anything anyways. They're not writing them up for half of this stuff. Why go down there and check? Why go endanger my life? And when they ain't going to do anything, and then are they going to back me if something goes down? Are they going to back me, or are they going to fire me?
They're not doing search shakedowns, you know, like they used to do. They're not doing. We used to at least every 6 months, at least yearly, but they would try to every 6 months bring in the CERT team, you know, and all the dogs, and they don't do any of that no more. They don't have enough barely to fill the shift. They can't send people from other prisons to take. You know, we'd send 50, 60 officers, sometimes even more. Every facility would send a five-man team to somewhere. We'd go do a shakedown. Shoot, you don't even have that many officers in 3 prisons to
you know what? When I was in there, we would meet at, say, MacAlford, and we'd all go to OSP. I mean, there'd be a slew of us go in there to OSP, and we would go in there and do shakedown. One of the funniest things I ever seen, we were going to go in and shake down this old cell, and this old boy had a joint, and we were waiting to have a distraction team, and he knew he's coming. You know, he knew he's coming. He's sitting up at that window, you know, just he's smoking, and of course they're getting pissed, and I'm laughing, going, "Smoke up, brother, because it's fixing to get ugly down there." And it was. I mean, they opened the door, and I mean, they plowed in there and got him. And, you know, but we used to do stuff like that all the time. And we would clean up prisons, and, you know, we'd get knives, we'd get dope. And sometimes when we did a massive deal like that, now if we caught it on them, you know, we would charge them. But a lot of times, man, they'd go to throwing dope and go and throwing knives, and we'd find them laying out there in the yard, or laying them out there in the, you know, outside in the hall or something. But the bottom line is, we may leave there with 30, 40 shanks, you know what I'm saying, that aren't on the yard anymore, and we're protecting people, and that was the purpose. And you know, the administration was happy with that. And again, they would cook hamburgers for us, and we'd make a good day of it. I mean, it'd be a good day, and we'd have
Tell me something. How do I keep hearing people money's missing out of their inmates' money's missing? Some of it's gone. How does that work?
Bob, like I say, we've got to start investigating, because I'm hearing, I mean, that's becoming a more and more, you know, I work with a group that's, you know, advocates for the inmates, and man, they're talking about money missing out of the, what do you call that?
Well, it says here, it's the commissary restrictions is over, and I hope so. Is there any way, when I put money on his books, can you please figure out who takes half of it before he receives it?
What do you call pastors in there? The chaplains. So that chaplain fee that goes towards, you know, some of their stuff. I've heard money missing out of some of that. I've heard money missing out of their canteen stuff and all of that. So again, you know, can we prove that? No, I can't prove any of that. I'm getting reports on that. But do we need to have an outside group come in and do an independent investigation? And guys, there's people that do that. There's groups that do that. We could get that done. I'm working with the group right now that we, you know, but again, the governor's got to order it, and why he was, I mean, we should be looking at that.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've talked about a lot today, and I appreciate Jason you taking the time to come and be with us, and thank you for what you do. And JJ, again, I appreciate you. But you got anything last thing to say, JJ? Last word. What's it got?
Well, the last word is that we're going to have an interim study in October on all of these things because obviously the director does not want to have a conversation on any of this. And so we're going to bring in that group that I'm talking about. I'm going to see if they can come in and talk about what they do, how they come in and look at what are the things that we need to look at. And we're going to bring up the shower incident and these cage incidents. How many people are actually dying? And are we even getting a correct number on that? Because I suspect we are. I suspect the level is really higher than what it is. We're going to show that the number reporting showing we're the worst in the nation ain't even close. We're way worse than the number they're reporting. And we're going to show how many times they're wrong and how many. So we're going to try to out all of this in October.
All right, that's a word. That's it. Jason, you got anything to leave with us?
That would be great. Staffing analysis. Every time they've done those staffing analysis, they've showed we're short. We're even shorter than we were when they did them when we were short. So
Well, they don't have to even do that. We know that we're short. It'll take a staffing analysis to figure that out. But the basic thing is that Mr. Harp, he just doesn't like transparency. He doesn't want to. He wants to be able to do what he wants to do. And he doesn't follow any of the rules that's out there. And but basically, transparency. That's just he just doesn't want it.
No, but we're going to have some things to look up the law and see if they violate the law, and we'll get them out there. So y'all, if you got ideas of what we need to be looking at, send them into Bob.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you. We'll see you later.
Bye.
see you later.